Welcome to Founders and Fortitude Conversations with Audrie Dollins, a podcast where we uncover the raw realities of being a founder, celebrating the brilliance of the teams, individuals, and families working tirelessly behind the scenes, and explore the fortitude, the unwavering determination it takes to navigate the twists, turns, and triumphs of entrepreneurship and life itself. Each week, we will share candid conversations, actionable insights, and inspiring stories to empower you on your journey. Whether you're building a brand, scaling a business, an online creator and influencer, or pursuing your passions with relentless drive, let's dive into the grit, grace, and growth it takes to thrive. Let's get into it. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Founders and Fortitude. I am delighted to be here with my friend Shay Geyer at IBB Design Fine Furnishings. Shay is the owner and designer. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Audrey. This is such an honor.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous because I admire everything that you have accomplished and done. And I've had the privilege to work with you and your amazing team that you've built. And so with my knowing your background, can you share a little bit about yourself and then how you got where you are right now?
Yes, so happy to do it. So my mom started IBB when I was about 2 years old. So IBB stands for Interiors by Beth. So my mom is Beth Rafferty. So I grew up in the industry. I'm an only child. And when I was younger, my mom would schlep me around to the design center and often appointments. I was, the product of two working parents. My dad was in commercial real estate. They're both serial entrepreneurs. So I come by all of this honestly.
I love it. And I also read in an article where your mom never really pushed you into it. Your own desire grew into it.
Yeah, which I'm so blessed and thankful that she did that, because I feel like especially with a family business, if the kids are forced into it, it's not authentic and there's no passion there. So that could be the detriment of a business. And so I'm so thankful that my parents never said you have to go into the family business. So, and things are a lot different back then. When I went off to college, we had been around for, gosh, I guess about 20 years at that point. So it was a substantial business and been around for a while. But my parents were like, you're not, you don't have to be the legacy. That doesn't have to be what you do in life. And they could tell, I think, from an early age, I was very independent, very strong-willed. I'm actually a natural redhead. And
Are you really?
I didn't know that.
Yes, auburn hair and freckles.
No way. Oh my God.
Yes, I did not know that.
Yep.
So we're fiery.
Fiery. And I'm also Irish to be on top of that. So my maiden name is Rafferty. So yeah, so feisty Irish ladies.
Well, look at us. Look.
Yeah, so but my parents, they didn't force me into it. So it was nice that the progression just happened. And how it happened is I went to school. I thought I was going to be in sports broadcasting. So our love for sports is mutual. And actually interned for Sunday Night Football while I was in college. Absolutely loved it and wanted to be a sideline reporter. This was pre-Erin Andrews. So she's a little younger than me. And so while I was doing that and building all these connections and relationships in sports, my mom was an interior designer. They happened to have a house in Scottsdale. And so I had all these friends that were getting these big contracts right out of college for various sports. And they're like, hey, your parents have this nice house. Can you help me furnish this house I just bought? And so I kind of started that way. And my mom was like, you could do this as a career. And I was like, oh, I'm just having fun. And she's like, yeah, your career should be fun and you should get paid to do this. So I graduated college and ended up moving back here to Texas, and the rest is kind of history. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I am so obsessed with that story, and I love that you love sports, and that will lead into a conversation a little bit later, but I want to pop back to your mom.
Okay.
Because I was laughing about this, and I make jokes about it, like I don't necessarily want to be called a boss babe. Call me what you want. I'm just a boss.
Yes.
Like, I want to work hard. I'm a founder, I'm an entrepreneur, but I understand the movement of boss babe and women entrepreneurs, and I respect that. However, your mom was the original boss babe.
She is. And it's funny because the crew that she kind of runs with, her best friends are all serial entrepreneurs and boss babes too. And so it's kind of funny to look back and kind of see. I don't think she would ever say that she intended to go that direction. It just sort of evolved and happened. I think it's more about being strong-willed and knowing what you want and being passionate about something. And then that sort of just happens naturally. I think if you say, I'm going to be a boss babe and that's what I want to do, you kind of can come across as like almost like a dictator and a B word.
Yeah, but I'm worried Mrs. I think that's why kind of sometimes I'm like, but I'm not that. I'm trying to achieve this.
Right.
And if you want to call me that, along with many other things, I'm sure, do that. But that's not what I'm pursuing. I'm pursuing this. And if a name goes along with it, great. But your mom's just dedication to it has, if anyone has the privilege to walk in to your amazing building, they would see that that is a lot of hard work. And then along with you, following through that and your amazing team, because your team is also dedicated. The same people that I have seen 3 years ago, 4 years ago are still here.
Yeah, we are really big about employee retention. We really try our best to hire right, and we want them to be with us for the longevity of their career. In fact, the very first designer my mom ever hired is still here today. She's been with us for over 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very important to us. And you know this as a business owner, hiring employees and getting them trained and onboarded and used to your company culture and all of that stuff is very timely and it's expensive. So you don't want to have turnover in your company. And so we really try very hard to hire right. And we're very conservative about hiring. Our marketing team, for example, we didn't even have a marketing team at all. I did everything until we hired Angie, who's our VP of marketing. I guess it was about 5 years ago. She's been with us a little over 5 years now, and we grew fast in those last 10 years, and I needed someone to help, but we waited until we could afford it, and I knew that I wanted that person to be around for the long haul of the company. I didn't want to hire somebody and then next year go, we can't afford you anymore. So now I got to backtrack. So I think you have to take those steps to be thoughtful in how you hire people. So
it's definitely obvious, and I've had the privilege to work with Angie, and she is so detailed. She loves the company, and it's a lot to line out, and she does it seamlessly. And I love the magazine that you put out, and then your social media. I do want to tap into that a little bit because we talk about when your mom started it and then you followed it up, and then marketing, because marketing helps carry that message. How has, within that 5 years, you talked about that growth, how has social media affected your growth and your business and telling that brand story online?
Huge. Social media for us, because obviously we're interior designers, so aesthetics is everything. And a picture for us is worth more than 1,000 words because it's what we do and it's how people can view our work. And so social media has played a huge role in getting our message out, getting our work out into a reach beyond Dallas. And so, because we do projects all over the world. So, and that reach is really great for us because we get a lot of great jobs off of social media because of that. So it's very, very, very vital to our business.
So with the success that you've had right now, it's funny to me to ask, like, what's your next goal? Because I'm like, you are living a dream of so many. And even the people that work here, I know, feel like they're living a dream because it was a dream for me to work with you. So what is that what is that goal for 2025 with your team and then personally too within the company?
So it's interesting because I've given a lot of thought to this, and my mom obviously started the business, and so this is a legacy family business. And I hope I'm not going to cry as I tell this, but my daughter, our oldest, is in design school at TCU right now. She's a sophomore. She'll be going abroad next year to Italy to study with the design program over there. So really exciting things happening. They're all on her own choosing. We kind of did the same thing with her and told her, you don't have to go into the family business. It would be great. We talk about it a lot. And she kind of fought it in high school because unfortunately, we bring work home. My husband works in our business. My mom lives down the street from us, so we kind of don't ever shut it off, but we're passionate about it. So it just happens naturally. So she kind of, played it off and didn't really pay much attention to it in high school, but she has a very, very inherent creative structure to her, and she's so talented. I mean, she will be exponentially better than my mom or I combined. I mean, she's very, very smart and creatively talented and just so driven and determined. So she could do anything she wanted, but I told her, I said, if you have any inclination that you want to do something with design, you should really go to school for it, because having that technical side behind you to support what you already have that God gave you is going to make you just unstoppable. And so she came to us Christmas Day, right before she went off to college to make a decision. And we had looked at 9 schools, and she came down and told us, she said, on Christmas Day, pay the deposit for the admittance. I'm going to TCU and I'm going to do design. I was like, don't play. Because TCU was the only Texas school she looked at, and we everything else was SEC, far away, and she was entertaining design still, but that's what led her to TCU, is their design program. And so to answer your question, my mind is focused on legacy and structuring the business. Obviously we've been around for over 40 years, so we're not going anywhere, but like, what does that stability look like? Because back to hiring employees and wanting them to have their careers here and have longevity, you have to structure your business with that as your backbone, right? So to me, legacy is, what incentives do we offer employees to make them want to stay around here? What can we do for our employees to make this a place they want to come to every day to go to work? The last thing I want is for people to work for us that hate to come here and they don't like their job. You're not doing any of us any sort of a good, service, or clients or other employees and staff members, if you hate your job. So making this a place where people want to come every day, that they're fired up to be around their teammates and clients and all that sort of thing. So all that is like in my brain really heavily, like structuring the company so that, we've grown so much. We have almost 90 employees.
That's amazing.
37 of those are designers. And so the way that we're structured is that all the designers run their own projects autonomously. So they have, creative freedom, but they also have it's almost like they have their own business within a business. So they're running their own projects independently with the built-in support staff of accounting, a full delivery team, logistics, like everything you need to do. But they basically have, it's their work. They get credit for it for every project that they do that we photograph. So it's kind of like being an independent designer, but with the built-in support staff. And that's how we've always run the business. And that's how I see continuing it. So just really my focus is like structuring the business for the longevity and the long haul to create a legacy that hopefully Jaylee will come, support the family business. I mean, she kind of toys around with, I'm going to do my own thing. And I'm like, okay, we'll see how that goes. My husband, Brian, is like, we might have to let her do that and just see. I'm sure she'll end up back here. And so we're working through that. But that's my focus, is just, whether she ends up here or not, that's my focus, is creating the legacy and continuing that. And we really, this last year, we redid our organizational flow chart. And so we gave internal promotions to some new leadership. And so clearly defining our departments. I don't ever want to be a corporation, in the sense of like, people don't feel like they can come talk to me or Brian or my mom, but we've gotten so big that we have to have people in place to manage, right? So that's the business side of it's a big part of my focus right now. That's your long
No,
answer.
I love that answer because it brings me to, I'm going to ask 2 questions. that kind of rolled together, because it brings me to anyone that is a business owner or founder. You have to have a open mind. You have to be a multitude of things. You have to have the door open where they can speak to you, but you also have structure and process, because there's a key thing you said. It's work and it's business. We are not, I mean, as much as we want to have fun what we're doing, it's still, you have to have the work ethic. You have to how to continue to show up, and you have expectations of people on your team. How do you generate and I'm just gonna say thick skin or mentally strong when sometimes, no matter what, we're business owners, we're not always loved every day. We have to make the difficult decisions. How do you mentally handle that on a daily basis?
That's probably one of the biggest challenges and something I had to learn. So I dealt with the nepotism as a kid coming out of college and working for my parents. Everybody's like, "Oh, she got that project because of her mom or because of, which they had no idea behind the scenes. I mean, I'm a networker. Like I can talk to anybody. I will hustle, and I built my clientele by hustling and networking with people. And so that the nepotism thing was huge for me and crushed me a lot because people would say that I was handed things because it was my mom's business. And I did work, and that's how I learned is I worked on projects with her, and I was very fortunate to work on her projects. We got to do some amazing. I was exposed to some really high-end luxury things because of that. She already had this established business. So I'm very grateful for that. But my own clients, I built from the ground up, and I started in our subdivision design and did neighborhoods with Highland, who's one of our builders. Yeah, I built my clientele from doing that from the ground up. I mean, I started, my parents didn't just say, here, you get a title. We didn't even have titles back then.
I mean, no, exactly. And I think that's where my other question was going to come around too, is what do you feel that your children have witnessed that other children may not have that opportunity? Because I look at my own children.
Right.
When other people were going on vacations, we were building another business. We were building this. They were sweeping floors at a wedding and event venue, and they were watching a cupcakery be built.
Right.
I mean, I have pictures of my kids, like after school, we would pick them up and we would go here. So it's not that our kids were I didn't make my kids sweep. I mean, they did, but like they had responsibilities. Please don't call the child paper walls. But they had responsibilities that, not to say like our kid's better than any other kid, but it's not nepotism. They had a work ethic, and they've witnessed things, and they see, okay, people see my mommy like this, but then I also see my mommy like this, and this is how they're handling it together, because my husband and I work together so closely. And they see those relationships, and it's not always, perfect, but there's so much coming from it. So what do you feel? Because my kids don't want to take over the marketing firm right now.
Right.
But what do you feel like they've learned with that option of choice? I think we've built little awesome kids that will work with other people if they don't choose to work with us.
100%. It's interesting because, I mean, being an only child, I didn't have a choice. And so, in the summers, I was helping answering the phones for my parents' business or whatever, unboxing freight, whatever, that day brought about where they needed help. I didn't have a choice. And so there was probably some resentment when I was younger. So I've been sensitive to that with our kids, but also kind of like, we've been flexible with them with it because we didn't want them to resent it. So if they had cheer or something that they wanted to do over the summer or breaks or whatever, we make sure that there's a balance so where they're not feeling like they're not forced. Like we do have a great team here at IBB, but we wanted to instill the work ethic in our kids. And I think, my husband is very routine. Like he wakes up at like 4:30 or 5 in the morning, gets up, works out, sits in the sun. I mean, his so regimented. And our kids see that. I'm very regimented and like I have a structure and a schedule I follow my calendar to the T. It's not so structured and planned the same like my husband's is, but I'm up early in the morning. We're going, we don't sit still. And so I think that's the biggest thing that our kids see is like, besides the fact that we've said, come, sweep the floors. We've had floods here in our warehouse before where everybody has to jump in the car and come up and help and pitch in. And so I think it's more like lead by example because like I said, we didn't want them to resent the fact that, oh, we have this family business and we have to help out, that sort of a thing. So just finding that balance because I will tell you with that work ethic, and it's also about being independent. A funny story, my sister-in-law lives here close by to us, and we needed help with Brookie, our youngest, at one point this year, and, Brian and I were both out of town, and my mom had gotten sick, so usually my mom helps, pitch in when we need help with the kids, right? So, my mom was sick, and so last minute, my sister-in-law had to help out, and so I had a group text with my sister-in-law and Brookie, and I said, "Brookie, you need to get Aunt Penny all the details for this weekend because she had, like, a birthday party and stuff, and my sister-in-law was gonna help take her around town, right? So, literally, Brookie, like, sends her friend's address, but that was the deal, like, if you didn't give Aunt Penny the details, it's not happening. So, if you want this to happen, you have to do your responsibility to help make it happen. And so she did. She was on it, all on the group text. Everything went down without a hitch. And later on, my sister-in-law and I are talking, and she's like, "First of all, I'm not sure my kids would have known what the word logistics meant at 13 years old, let alone take the initiative to actually say, "This is where I need to be at this time." Because I literally told her, I'm like, "You have to give her all the details. That's not my job. That's your responsibility. These are things that you wanna do for fun. So, this is your responsibility to get Aunt Penny those details to make it happen." Because I always tell my family, like, if it's not on the calendar for me, it's not happening. Because we have so much going on. All the details have to be there, addresses, where to be when, who the contact person is. So there's no questions that we can all do what we wanna do and still have fun. And so our kids have just learned that, and I didn't really think much of it, but I'm like, "Oh my gosh, are not all 13 and 14 and, 18, 19-year-old like that?" So I'm like, this is just how we roll, you know?
Well, I think you also touched it too, is because as much as people say, like, you need to separate business from home life, I can't.
Yeah.
It's my passion. I love it. If you're telling me I love my waking up Saturday morning, having my alone time, because I wake up early as well,
Yeah.
and having my alone time and sitting on my computer and looking at my work the way that I want to look at it and not like a timeline type thing. I love to work. There's many times like, and you mentioned this too, we've been on vacation or we're looking at this, where we love business and we love marketing and we love the process, that it's very hard for us to separate it. And the facts are the responsibilities are not an 8 to 5 position. Though the people that you have an amazing team, they do rely on how you run your business. And it has to come home. And so I have an opinion on work-life balance.
Yes.
Does it exist?
Oh gosh. I mean, I guess it depends on who you're asking. I mean, it does exist because it has to, right? And so, I try really hard. I really do. So, is there, I don't know if you would call it a balance, it's just priorities, right? So, what's the priority for the day? And it's every day is different. But I will say that like my family is my number one priority over everything. And so that's why the calendar exists because I'm not gonna miss a football game that our girls are cheering at. I'm not gonna miss a cheer competition. I'm the team mom for my daughter's school team. I don't know how that I got sucker.
I was gonna say, that's a lie.
It's kind of a joke, actually. And it was really only because our oldest was also on the same team for 6 years, so the coach knows me really well, and I know her really well and how she likes things, and she doesn't want the parents, like, involved really at all. It's really just an organizational thing, and she knows how I am, and so she was like, "You're team mom," when our other team mom left, and I'm like, "Really?"
Great. Let me do that. Yeah. I think you touched it too. I think that it has kind of grown the question of work-life balance because every day is different and it's that priority for that day.
Yeah.
And don't be so hard on yourself.
Right.
And it really is like whatever you make it. And some days are not always going to be perfect. And
Most days aren't.
yeah, someone told me in a previous podcast, they say just like, just get used to so-called failures, and I don't necessarily call it failures. I call it challenges that you have to, you have to solve something every day.
Teachable moments.
Teachable
I like
moments.
that catchphrase. Yeah. If you're not learning something new, I don't care what industry you're in. If you're not learning something new every day, you're not doing it right. And I tell our staff that all the time too, especially in design, because there's a new way to do something every single day. And I feel like as a business owner, you have to be nimble, and our world changes so rapidly that it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're not constantly trying to better yourself with business knowledge or design knowledge for us, product knowledge, how to do things, you're not doing it right. That's not you're gonna fail because you're gonna be stagnant and not be able to take your business into the future, whatever that is. So, just with technology alone, I mean, there's so many I mean, that's another full-time job.
It it is. Okay, let's talk about before we wrap this up because I feel like there's so many great things. I could literally keep her here all day. I'm like, "Can I call you for, like, therapy in the morning?"
Absolutely, absolutely.
To follow that up with, the drive, I wanna make sure what it's your faith that keeps you going through the
Oh,
hard
yeah.
times.
Oh, yeah.
I follow you and you'll share scripture or something, and I'm like, "Oh, I needed that." That's
Yeah.
why I felt like this podcast was so important because I do feel like sometimes we're out here on this island as, whether it's the mom, we're leaders of our, half leaders of our family. We
Right.
know that. But
Yes.
we kind of feel, sometimes alone. I think
Yeah.
when we pick this choice of a career option, I feel like we can feel alone. And then when I see that, I'm like, your faith. Tell me a little bit about your faith. Is there a scripture that comes to mind or anything like that? I know I'm putting you on
I
the
know,
spot.
yeah.
You're like, oh,
I can tell you that Isaiah 41:10 is my favorite verse, and it became my favorite verse about, I'd say probably 18, 19 years ago. I was going through a really challenging time in my life, and I literally just remember, like, opening up the Bible, like, and it was right there in front of me. And I still can't quote it. I'm so bad at quoting scripture, but it's about God and his righteous right hand and basically holding you up like there's nothing that you can't do with God by your side. And so, like I said, I'm horrible at quoting scripture, but that is my favorite verse. And I do study the Bible as much as I can, like spend time in the word because that's my calm. It is what like gives me peace. And it's definitely has to be a focus for me. It's part of my morning routine. And now I'm even trying to do it before I go to bed at night or just even randomly throughout the day and involve myself with more people that talk about it more too, because I feel like it's a place where I always need some strength and support. And I feel like surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded and have that faith too, it just helps you get through times. And that's why I share scripture or, quotes and stuff like that about God and Jesus on social media is because it's really more for me than everybody else. But I always get messages from people like, "Thank you so much. I needed that today," or whatever. But I feel like putting it out there, it's almost like that little God nudge of like, this is like reassurance. Like I put this in front of you, share it with other people because you never know who needs that in that moment or whatever. But I don't know how anybody who doesn't believe in God gets through the day. And I don't mean that to sound harsh at all. I hope that just and I'm not perfect, and that's not what it's about, but and obviously we're all sinners but without in the hard times, I don't know how you get through it because you have to have hope and faith in something to get through a challenging time. And so when you have hope and faith in God, like there's like literally this something inside. I don't know if you feel
I
it too.
feel it. That if I'm worrying about something, I'm like, I'm gonna be okay because he's always taking care of me.
Always.
Always, because our schedule, I used to say this too, I make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Yes.
he's got this,
Yes.
and the more I try to control, it's I can only control what I can control, and I've never gone without. My family has never gone without. My clients have never
Yeah.
we continue to grow, and everything's a lesson, but I wake up praying to God, I go to sleep praying to God, sometimes more frantic than others, so, most times it's very frantic, like, "Please, God, help me," but
Lord have mercy.
and I love that you share your faith because, I connect with that without having to call you.
Right.
And there's many times that people that own business like, what do you do here? But no, like, not that I wouldn't turn to you, but I'm like, turn to, like, when you post the scripture, I'm like, turn to God, because that is the answer. And what we're doing is not brain surgery, it's a blessing. And it's very difficult because we want to be so many things, but we aren't so many things He is. And if we keep turning to that, hopefully it will kind of
Yeah, you're
slow
so right.
down.
Well, and it's interesting too because and just alongside the faith and like how it pertains to business and stuff, I really do feel like the most challenging decisions we've had to make, like there's no way I could have ever done it without my faith. And I also think for 2025 and really just the future of our business, I'm really asking God, like, how do I incorporate you more into, not to be like in your face with people about Christianity and my faith, but like, I feel like it's a light, right? So bringing that light into people's lives, and we're being invited into people's homes, right? And
Yes.
so to give them these backdrops, beautiful backdrops to create memories with their own families, whether they're Christian or not. That doesn't bother me because Jesus tells us to love everybody, right?
Yes.
And so, and not judge. So whatever works for them as far as their religion, that's fine with me. But mine is, the Lord and Christianity and following Jesus. And how can I bring that into our business by living the light without, I'm not trying to force it down people's throats, but just bringing that light into what we do, right? So that I feel like should be another part of our focus, and really just, by the way we steer things.
Well, I can't appreciate you enough for opening up. I know, I mean, I have been affected by it in your posts and I love it. So it's a light for me. And so that kind of falls into my next question. It's going to be kind of twofold.
Okay.
If someone wants to be a designer and go into this profession, and maybe that's talking to you when you're younger or to your daughters, what advice would you tell them?
Go for it. I mean, if you're passionate about anything, whatever your dream is, go for it because you don't want to live life with regrets. And so, if that's something that you want to do, follow it and study, like just dive into it full throttle. Go for it. Yeah.
And if someone wanted to be a business owner, what would you tell them?
I would say go for it. I mean, obviously, we're serial entrepreneurs, and I think positivity is the only way I wouldn't deter anybody. I'd be honest with them and make sure that people know what that entails. And it's hard. It's tough. I mean, I don't want to say there's not downtime because you have to create downtime for yourself or you're going to go crazy. But
My eye is twitching.
I mean, honestly, but I mean, if you don't go for it, then you'll never know, right? So if you feel like that's your calling to have your own business and to go into design, then do it. I mean, and like I said, whatever your own business is, but just know that you when you're first starting out, you do everything. You're the designer, you're the CEO, you're the social media person, you're the marketing person, you're the janitor, you're the toilet cleaner.
Yeah, you're everything.
You're
And I think it's
everything.
important to know all of those positions because you respect it.
And you have to be prepared. Like this, you can't just go out and hire people right off the bat and say those people are going to take care of that job because that's not a sustainable business. You have to know every role of the business to be able to run a successful business because you can't lead otherwise. Right.
100% agree. One more last question. It's a little bit of a fun one to circle back to the sports.
Okay.
Do you see a parallel between someone that loves sports and and owning a business?
Oh yeah, it's the competitiveness.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
so many people I meet that I'm like, oh, they love sports, and it's the competitive competitiveness.
Yes.
But so many people I sit down with, they're like, oh, well, I played a sport in college. I did
Yeah.
this, or it's amazing the parallels of entrepreneurs and business owners.
You're so right. I never thought about it that way, but I think anybody that's inherently competitive, that's why I feel like my daughters would be successful in our family business because they're both insanely competitive. And my husband and I both are too. And my mom is. I mean, it's like I think that's part of being an entrepreneur because when you fail, you get right back up and you go back at it. You don't, that not winning is what drives you, right? And then when you win, you're like, what's next? Right? So you win something and then you're like, okay, well, what's the next level? Like our daughters do cheer, so they're always wanted to be on the level 6 worlds team. So how do I get there? So I've accomplished all these things. Like, how do I get to that next level? So I think it's a definite thing for sure.
I think the same thing. Favorite teams. Give a shout out to your favorite team.
Dallas Cowboys. I don't care what anybody says. I am a Cowboys. I literally I have the games on in the background right now because we need to. I think we were going for a first round draft pick this year. I mean, because the season was so bad. Hopefully we're gonna end up with a draft pick.
So too. I'm kind of giving them a little trouble because I'm like, okay, can y'all pay for my therapy? Because I am like,
that's pretty bad. But I grew up on. My dad was a huge Cowboys fan. I grew up on Roger Staubach.
yep.
And then obviously Troy Aikman, Deion Sanders. I mean, so Emmitt Smith, like all the Moose Johnston. Like I'm huge.
I love
huge
them all.
Cowboys.
Yes.
Yes. My husband's a Rangers fan, and I have a funny story with that really fast because he is die hard. So when the Rangers won the World Series, my husband and our operations manager were in Vegas. We were there for I think Vegas market. They're like, let's bet on the Rangers to win it all. So they bet $100 for them to win it all, and there was like a couple of different things, and it was like a total fluke, right? You didn't. That was a huge gamble at the beginning. The season hadn't even started. They turned that $100 into $10,000 because they won the World Series.
That is so awesome. You can tell your husband that when I was little, my dad took me to the very first stadium and I got a stadium chair. And so I have it, and I don't know if I want to put it in like a game room or something like that. But it's like old. I mean, if I need to paint it. But I love the Rangers, the Cowboys. Grew up with,
a local girl. I mean, I like
you.
sports I like Kansas City too. Ricky's more of a Kansas City fan because the Cowboys haven't been good since I was like really in high school. But it's just something, I think when you grew up with a team like that, it's like there's just,
Yeah,
never
nothing
gonna
compare. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Okay, now let's do some humble brags about IBB. You were talking about the wallpaper.
Yeah.
Tell me all the things that you have coming out or that you're able to tell us right now.
Yes.
So the wallpaper.
The wallpaper is probably the biggest one. So our team, we've been working on this wallpaper collection. So it's completely customizable. So the pattern you're seeing here is one of our murals, which I love, but you can change the scale, you can change the color, you can do pretty much anything. We actually have another wallpaper that's getting ready to get installed in one of our model projects. I'm so excited about, but it's all one of the girls on one of our designers on our model team did artwork of I don't know, probably 10 to 15 of our staff's dogs. And so Gigi and Zoe are in it, but we took all of that artwork and then created a pattern, and it's our dog wallpaper that's I don't have a name for it yet, but we're getting ready to install it in about 2 weeks. So we'll have to share that. But like we've done our clients' horses before, we've done all sorts of like fun wallpapers for projects. So I was like, why not put something together, that we could have, available to the public that comes into the store and whatnot. So we have tons of different patterns. We're kind of always playing with it and doing something new. So it's going to constantly evolve, but it's completely customizable and really well priced. Also produced right here, just in Fort Worth, down the street.
Nice.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It's local, and it's another local small woman-owned business, and love working with them. They're great. The turnaround time is really quick. By the time we finalize the pattern and the artwork, it's about 2 to 3 weeks to get the material, so it's super fast. Yeah, so we love it, but it gives our designers kind of another, way to put the client's sort of stamp of approval of uniqueness. Nobody's else is gonna have it, right? It's if you create a wallpaper of someone's animals or whatever you want to do, it's theirs, right?
I love that. And you love pets. I've had the privilege to photograph
Yes,
all the pets of those team members.
and you had Roxy before she passed. Yes. So our dogs love to be part of the pet.
I love that.
Yeah.
Also, humbly brag on the awards. IBB has won so many awards.
We won a few.
Which I'll wrap up with last year.
The biggest one for us, which was actually, I believe, the year before, but the biggest, we went into the Hall of Fame for the Arts Awards, which is an industry organization. I kind of equate it to winning the Oscars, right? It's a very big deal for our industry. So we've won it 5 times now. So they put us into the hall. Once you win 5 times, you go into the Hall of Fame. But it's an industry organization that we're a part of. Great industry organization. It's all of our vendors and partners that we work with for items in our store, manufacturers that we work with to do all of our projects. And so it's a huge honor to be recognized by your peers. So that's definitely the biggest one. And then we've won McSam Awards with Highland that we do all the model homes with. And so that's a huge one. We have 18 people on our model design team now. And we did, I believe, 58 model homes last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so we do all over Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin, and Houston. That team stays really busy. So to get awards like that for them is like huge because it's a great recognition for their talent and hard work. So we got some of those last year, and I'm forgetting something. You say humble brag because
I'm like,
it's a big deal to win these things, but also it's like, you can go look at our trophy case.
I know. You're like, and that's why I ask, because I mean, I have seen all the amazing awards that you've won, and it speaks so highly of yourself and the team. And it's so, I mean, when we win an award, I don't know if we're ever going to win an award, but it's ridiculous. I can't wait. I've won one like way back in the day, but if we ever win one, I'll carry it around with me.
Walking around like your little baby. Yeah.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for opening up and sharing your time with us, because I know you have so many things to do, and this is so important to me, and I hope people feel the passion and connection. Where can they follow you and IBB if they want to follow you online, or if they potentially want to work with you?
Well, the easiest is probably to go to our website, ibbdesign.com, and you'll find everything there, all the contact information. But on Instagram, where we're most active on social media, it's at IBB Design. And then I'm at Designer Shay, Shay. So yeah, follow us on social media. We share all kinds of stuff throughout the day on our projects and what's happening around here. And we would love to work with you, anybody that's listening, and be invited into your home to kind of create something beautiful for your family. So we'd love to.
Well, thank you so much. Well, you're going to get a giggle because I'm going to wrap it up. And every time I wrap it up, this is what I say. So if you want to laugh at me, you can. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This was the episode with Shay Geyer at IBB Design Fine Furnishings. As always, capture, brand, and engage, and let's do big things.
Oh, I love it.
Is that okay?
That's awesome.
Yeah, This week's quote brought to you by Southern Junkies. Southern Junkies is a boutique located in the quaint town of Pilot Point. They keep you on trend and treat you like family. You can follow Southern Junkies on Instagram or visit their website and shop online. This week's quote is by Brian Solis. Trust is the new currency of business. Holy cow. Trust is the new currency of business. Someone that is involved with influencer and brand marketing, I call it trust marketing. Your audience now online and on social media is educated, and they want to purchase and spend their hard-earned dollars with someone they can trust. That is why small business, locally owned, family operated means so much to a consumer, because they trust them. They know that their dollars are going to be spent with someone that works hard. So when you are planning your marketing strategy, think authentic, think how you can touch your audience by building trust. Trust marketing. Let me repeat this week's quote one more time. Trust is the new currency of business. And I couldn't agree more. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Founders and Fortitude Conversations with Audrie Dollins. For details and links from our incredible guests, be sure to check out our show notes. You might even find exclusive discounts and special items we share that aren't even mentioned during the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. It truly helps us grow and continue sharing valuable insights with you. You can connect with me daily on Instagram at Audrie Dollins, AudrieDollins, and don't forget to visit my website at audriedollins.com, where you'll find years of blogs packed with tips and insights to help you thrive. As always, capture, brand, and engage, and let's do big things.